Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Good Tuesday morning. Thanks for joining us. It is 8:06 on O'Connor and Company. We have still going to talk to Byron York this morning with the Washington Examiner. He'll give us a preview on the presidential debate tonight. I'm Julie Gunlock alongside my friend Andrew Langler. Good morning, Andrew.
Hi there. So glad to be here.
Hello. And joining us now is Bill O'Reilly, author of the new book, Confronting the President's No Spin, Assessments from Washington to Biden. Good morning, Bill.
Julie, thanks for having me in. Andrew, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Bill. So glad that we could talk to you on the eve of this momentous debate this evening.
And I wanted to start with that, Bill. I definitely want to talk about your book, but we can't really talk to you without getting your assessment of and prediction on tonight's debate. I mean, there's so many questions. Will Kamala flame out? Will Trump get angry and lash out? What are your thoughts and predictions for tonight?
Don't have any predictions because we're not in that game. But I have plenty of thoughts. So first of all, Americans know that both candidates are flawed, as pretty much every candidate always has been. And there's a lot of rooting and a lot of emotion. So people choose a side and then they promote that side. But if you are an observant person, you know that both the vice president and the former president have downsides, and they're fairly significant downsides, so that it comes down when you vote to what you can tolerate. Now, that assessment is for people who pay attention. For people who don't pay attention, a rising constituency in America because they live in their cell phone, then this debate tonight means a lot, because the impression that is going to be put forth can sway people who really don't know what Kamala Harris has done or Donald Trump incredibly has done. They just hear things. So that's who is going to be affected the most. The very few people could go either way.
Well, there you go. And so, Bill, sort of as we're watching this, right, we are in either way the waning days of the Biden presidency, whether or not we get a third term of Biden in Kamala Harris stepping in, or whether or not we do go back to the change here. Either way, we are in the last days of the Biden presidency. Bill O'Reilly, by the way, has this new book out. It's called Confronting the President's No Spin, Assessments from Washington to Biden. So how does Biden rank in the panoply here?
Second worst president of all time. And the reason is, when I say that, people, the partisanship and all that. No. When you and I don't rank the presidents in confronting the presidents. I don't do that because I want the reader to do it. And I basically am brutal in exposing each man about what their downside is as well as their upside, because there have been excellent presidents. But Joe Biden brought problems to the nation. Very unusual. The worst president was James Buchanan right before Abraham Lincoln, who absolutely sat on his hands and did nothing to prevent the Civil War. He was a coward, Buchanan. And when Lincoln walked in, it was a fait accompli that this war, the worst thing that ever happened to America, was going to happen. And I have a letter by Harry Truman in my collection that says if Andrew Jackson had been president in 1856, there would not have been a Civil War, because Jackson would have snuffed out the rebellion very quickly. But Buchanan did nothing. So that's why he's the worst. Biden comes in and inexplicably, has never been explained, opens a border leading to unintended consequences for decades. Nobody's going to be able to fix that right away. And why? Why would you do it? And then 1.4% inflation rises to more than 9% in a year. How did that happen? No explanation whatsoever. And every single working person in this country has been affected negatively by that.
Yeah.
So when we assess the presidents, we are doing it in a variety of ways. But when you bring problems with you, it's like Jimmy Carter. Everybody goes, Jimmy Carter, Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was well-intentioned. It was just way in over his head.
Yeah.
And my fear is that Kamala Harris, because she refuses to define how she would solve any problem. We can't get anything. Maybe tonight we will. But so far we have not.
Your book is really fascinating. You do all of that analysis. Who is the best? Who is the worst? What ideas and policies had the most impact? But you really get into some sort of personal lives as well. You also talk about the first ladies and the roles of the first ladies. But on the personal stuff, you talk about what they ate, what they drank, what they did when they weren't working. I find all of that kind of fascinating. What would you say was the most sort of surprising thing you learned about their personal lives, or did something seem strange?
John Quincy Adams was naked in public all morning, every morning. So he walks out of the White House down to the Potomac, takes off his clothes, and jumps in the river.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's the people, looking at him. Is that the president who's naked in the Potomac River? Yeah, that's Quincy. And we have every single chapter, we humanize them. Okay? Right.
Bill, didn't somebody at some point at one point say that maybe if they could make Nixon walk around naked, maybe that would be better because we could always see what he was. I mean, he wouldn't be able to hide anything in his pockets.
Well, if Nixon was walking around naked, he would have been impeached long before Watergate.
Yes.
Okay. So,
but Harding, you were saying
Warren Harding, the worst, absolute worst.
Yeah.
I mean, had no interest in being president. All he did every night was play cards with his corrupt friends and get drunk.
Yeah.
Warren Harding was campaigning for president in 1920, and his mistress gave birth during the campaign, and the press didn't report it.
That's right.
I mean, this is the kind
familiar.
of stuff that we have in confronting the presidents on every single one of them.
Bill, real quick.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, because you were saying.
No. I mean, these are human beings, all right? And we have mythologized them in America. And if you really want to vote for the best person to lead the country, you got to just sweep that mythology away and look at them as people.
Bill, let me ask you this, because we've been talking about this issue, and it seems to be a theme or a thread throughout the history of United States governance, the concept of intentions and unintended consequences. I'm a fan of the phrase, the most well-intentioned policies eventually bump up against very real realities. Why have we not learned this lesson, even though it goes throughout our entire presidential history?
Because after the Depression, FDR, who was a 4-term president, people forget that, then the country changed, all right, into a modern era television, and now we're in the internet, okay? And so the politicians changed. And instead of being, astute and examining really what was happening, they played to their electorate. So you see that with Trump and Harris. Rather than being very articulate, very statesmanlike, Donald Trump has a record to run on. You may not like him. You may think he was a screwed up president. That's fine. But he wants to entertain his base and says all kinds of stuff that is irrelevant to everybody's lives.
Yeah.
All right? Because he's playing to the crowd. And that was the big shift. So now they have all these consultants, all these people telling them what to say. They don't write anything. They just read off the paper. That was Biden, okay? And it's really hurt the country. We need thinkers. We need problem solvers. We don't need, people out there running around saying these crazy things, but that's what gets attention these days.
Well, Bill, we are thankful for you and your book, Confronting the Presidents, No Spin Assessments from Washington to Biden. Thank you so much for coming on.
All right, and make sure you guys read this book to Larry, I know he's busy. You have to follow him around reading.
Yes.
We will.
But yeah, when Larry comes back, you tell him I want to talk to him about this book. All right?
I will. I'll pass that on. Thanks, Bill. We'll continue in just a moment. But
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live.
From the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Oh, Andrew, sad news.
Very sad news indeed.
Yes.
Yes.
We obviously all recognize that that music, James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader. He died yesterday. A revered actor, again, who voiced Star Wars villain Darth Vader. Also starred in Field of Dreams and other films.
Yes.
He was an icon of the big screen. Died at his home in Dutchess County, New York. He was 93 years old.
Listen, one of my favorite roles is that Field of Dreams role where he plays author and poet and activist Terrence Mann, and he has this whole thing where he confronts Kevin Costner and says, "Oh, you're from the '60s, back to where you came from. We have no room for you in modern America." I mean, it is such an iconic actor. Played Admiral Greer in the original Jack Ryan movies with Harrison Ford and Alec Baldwin. And just such,
a lot of people are pointing out some of the other movies and that he's known for. He was Mufasa in Lion King, and one of my favorite. I saw a clip from this last night. Coming to America, he played the king in that movie. Sort of a movie most Gen Xers will recognize.
Oh yeah, I mean without a doubt. I mean it's just it's someone whose work transcends sort of all, you have actors who are like, oh, well, he's just a sci-fi guy, or he's just a comedy guy, or he's just a serious actor. But, someone whose work, right, instantly recognizable, this is CNN. I mean,
yes.
I wish I had that voice. And so funny because also going back to, I was looking at clips yesterday afternoon or last evening of James Earl Jones on Sesame Street. And
right.
early Sesame Street, doing the alphabet and doing or doing something where he lends his voice to it. But then of course, because I was listen, I'll admit something here on the air.
Oh dear.
I was deathly afraid of Darth Vader when I was a little kid. I mean, it was just one of those things where Darth Vader truly scared me, and it wasn't just the imposing figure David Prowse in that uniform on screen, that costume on screen, but the voice of James Earl Jones.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
That's what I was going to do. I want the most famous though. Cut 32.
I am your father.
There you go. Boy,
yes,
that shocked me when I was little.
Yes, invariably misquoted. And the funny thing is that when they said that, when that was finally in the script, everybody looked at it and said, "Wait a minute, what? How is this possible?" Not that I want to get into the whole Star Wars mytho history, but a full life. A life truly America lost. A treasure
we have
yesterday.
to. I just want to do this because
please,
Larry's gone, and I know he'd want us to do it. He was the voice of the University of Michigan. Can we play cut 25?
This is the University of Michigan.
There you go.
What a football game we're going to have here this afternoon.
Welcome to Ann Arbor. You are looking live at a sold-out 103,000 Michigan,
where we respect integrity and honor excellence.
There you go. That's a little shout out to Larry there. Look, we have much more to get to right now. It is 8:21. James Earl Jones died yesterday at 93. The actor amassed nearly 200 screen credits during his amazing 60-year career. He was regarded as one of the world's best stage actors and screen actors. He is one of the few entertainers to have won what's called the EGOT, the Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and Tony, though his Academy Award was honorary. He received 2 Primetime Emmy Awards, a Daytime Emmy, a Spoken Award, Grammy Award in 1977, and 3 Tony Awards. Our board operator, Michael, pointed out to us that he did a written version of the national anthem. We'll play that now, cut 27.
Oh, say, can you see? By by the dawn's early light, but so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, can that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
What a loss for all of us.
Yeah,
Rest
truly.
in peace, James Earl Jones. It's 8:29.
Now,
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Good Tuesday morning. It's 8:37 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We're making sense of the news. Thanks for joining us. It is 8:37, and I'm Julie Gunlock alongside my friend Andrew Langer. Good morning, Andrew.
Hey there, Julie. Happy Tuesday.
Joining us now is Byron York, Chief Political Correspondent for the Washington Examiner. Thanks for coming on, Byron.
Good morning, folks. Good to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you, and we have a lot of questions about this upcoming debate. You know, we have watched over the years how the sort of rumor mill in Washington works, but there have been also press reports about how Kamala doesn't prepare. She doesn't reading her morning briefs. You know, she has this high staff turnover. She's very difficult. In light of that, in light of her history of not really preparing, will she be prepared tonight?
Well, there have been reports about her not really preparing for her job as Vice President of the United States, but there have been a lot of reports about how she's maybe even over-preparing for this debate with all these mock debate sessions. Somebody, I don't know, dressed like a Trump impersonator talking to her. I mean, these really kind of ornate practice sessions that she seems to devise. Now, usually, you know, the more prepared person wins. I mean, go to a football game, the more prepared team wins. But you can't over-prepare, and that's happened in presidential debates before. So I don't know which one is going to be the answer. We'll see.
Well, right. I mean, Byron, it's a situation in which, you know, this is a unique situation for her. Obviously, she did the one-on-one debate with Mike Pence back in 2020, helped, of course, by the fly that landed on Mike Pence's head, right? Who knows what it would have been like if that had happened. But let me ask you, Byron, let me ask you this, right? But it's a foregone conclusion that the media reports tomorrow are going to be that Kamala Harris won. I mean, regardless of her performance, they're gonna say she won. And if she, and it really doesn't matter if she has a spectacular flame out because they can always elevate her to be president of the United States. But am I right in this idea that they will declare her the winner regardless of what happens tonight?
Well, no, I wouldn't say regardless of what happens. Who knows? I mean, obviously you don't expect just a disaster, what happened on June 27th with Joe Biden, which was kind of a predictable disaster. So this case, you don't know. I do think one thing to look out for is, you know, I think we may have learned something in the reporting about the great microphone controversy.
Oh, yes.
It was originally thought, you know, the microphone thing was originally thought to be they were arguing over the prospect of Donald Trump interrupting Kamala Harris, you know, millions of times like he did with Joe Biden back in 2020, when in fact it appears they were arguing over Kamala Harris's plan to interrupt Donald Trump. And the whole idea is, you know how she loves to talk about herself as a tough prosecutor. She's a prosecutor. And if you look at some of her ads, you'll see her as a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee questioning Brett Kavanaugh or questioning Jeff Sessions, you know, really getting tough with them. And so I think that basically that had been her plan and hoping to sort of interrupt him, have a courtroom drama sort of situation where she interrupts Donald Trump with the facts every now and then. That's not going to happen because of the muted. She can't interrupt him because of the muted mic situation. But I would look for her to still try this prosecutor role and see if she can rattle Trump.
Rattling Trump, that does seem to be the strategy.
Yeah.
And what's your? I know people do not want to make predictions. I get it, but Trump was shockingly in control when he debated Biden. And I think part of that was that Biden was just so far gone, and it would have looked mean-spirited and kind of beating up on the old guy. I mean, it was, and I think Trump really understood that, give this guy the rope and he's going to hang himself. But do you think he'll be able to have that same level of control when, Kamala's going to poke at him? I'm speaking. She's going to try that stuff.
Well,
how do you think Trump will react to that?
Yeah, and it's going to be more than I'm speaking. It's going to be, some of her earliest campaign statements made references to 3 legal cases against Trump: the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit, she called him a sexual abuser.
Yep.
The Letitia James lawsuit in New York, a business cheat. And then, of course, the Alvin Bragg trial in New York, a convicted felon.
Right.
So, I mean, she's going to call him all of that stuff. And now, this is not a surprise to him. He's got to be prepared for this and deal with it. But she's going to try all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's really kind of up to him. I personally think he has always had, for his entire campaign, he's had one simple message, and the message is, when I was president, things were good. When Joe Biden and Kamala Harris became president, things became bad. Elect me, and I'll make them good again. This is a unique argument that no one has been able to make in recent history because we haven't had a person who has actually served as president of the United States out of office running for the presidency again. And so people know that, and I think that's his basic appeal, and how many times he says something like that, I think, will be very important.
Byron, as always, we love talking to you, and we will be watching right along with you and looking for your reaction tomorrow morning. Thanks for coming on.
All right, thank you.
We have more to come. It is 8:43 on WMAL.
WMAL, making sense of the border, because laws either matter or they don't. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
Got some troubling news out of D.C. last night. A mob of burglars targeted several high-end stores throughout D.C. This happened overnight. The Metropolitan Police Department has made 5 arrests, and the police have increased their presence across parts of the city. That includes Georgetown, City Center, 8th Street Corridor, Logan Circle, and north of Columbia Heights. They were attacking the Gucci stores, the Gucci store there, and many other high-end stores. These stores have been damaged. Merchandise was ripped off. The security devices were ripped off. So looks like one of these sort of coordinated mob robberies.
Right. And that's just it. I mean, listen, there is nothing that is safe and no place that is safe downtown. And that's the issue here. Is that, one would expect, I'm nervous. I haven't actually gone out to check out. I haven't checked out my car, which is parked on the streets of D.C. Last night. I'm hoping it's okay, Julie.
Yeah.
But that's, you always take it sort of into your hands, and this is the issue here. But yeah, there are
these are areas of these are areas of Washington that have typically been relatively safe, but these are high-end stores,
right?
And they can really take a lot of very expensive merchandise. But 5 arrests have happened, so that's good. But
right.
They are investigating 6 burglaries and 6 incidents of property destruction. Not good.
And it's a situation where we're seeing more reports of this, right? There are obviously areas of D.C. where there's an expectation or an understanding. We know that there's going to be crime being committed. But now we're seeing it in other areas that have been heretofore, up until about a year and a half ago, largely immune from this kind of crime. So when you hear about smash and grabs, and also, by the way, nighttime smash and grabs, which is really interesting. But smash and grabs in places like downtown DC or over in Georgetown.
Yeah, I do want to play Cut 29. It's John Gonzalez, WJLA. He reported on this last night. Let's just hear this real quick.
Still a ton of police out here in Northwest D.C. And, the region has dealt with flash mob crimes for years, but this one's a bit unique because it was overnight so widespread. 5 different locations where police are set up this morning. In some cases, high-end stores were targeted. D.C. police put out a release this morning saying that overnight, groups of individuals decided to destroy property and burglarize businesses throughout the city. 2 popular areas that were hit include where we are live this morning, City Center, and over in Georgetown, along with stores in the 8th Street corridor, Logan Circle, and Columbia Heights. Now, MPD immediately increased police resources in these neighborhoods. We've got some video here to show you. For now, detectives are investigating 6 burglaries and 6 destruction of property offenses. Now, some arrests, we are told, have been made already this morning. The department is touting quick work from officers. 5 people were taken into custody.
Okay, they are asking if you have any information about this to call the Real Time Crime Center at 202-727-9099, or you can text an anonymous tip to 50411. We've got more coming up. It is 8:52 on O'Connor and Company. Okay, Chris, what do you have coming up?
Yes,
nothing but fun. Hey, I love that you talked about the marauding mobs of Democrats sacking, looting, smashing, and plundering around D.C. Last night, including Georgetown.
I know.
That's refreshing, I think.
City Center, Gucci.
The Gucci. Why would you go for the... there, I guess there's no loot lemon there or a Louis Vuitton because...
They didn't touch the TJ Maxx.
TJ Maxx, they left alone. That's funny. So it's a highbrow, violent mob of criminal Democrats. Is that what I'm together?
That's right. They got good taste.
That's nice. So when you see the Democrats sauntering and sashaying around the city with their Gucci, you're going to have to wonder. You're just going to have to wonder. Is that where they got it?
That's a no good.
Well, hey, guys, you're big fun. Great show.
Thanks.
And